So it hit me recently that I have quite a lot of foundation. I think I've got about 25 different kinds of foundation actually like on the go at the moment. Some of them are kind of expensive as well, so I figured I'm just going to start reviewing them. Also, before anyone asks, these are the Vasen Dolly Plus Red Circle Lenses. So the foundation I'm reviewing today is the MAC Studio Fix Fluid Foundation. So this is in the lightest shade that MAC do, and this is in shade NW10. So unfortunately for me, I'm not actually a warm skin tone. I have very pink to neutral undertones, mostly pink. So if MAC did an NC10, that would be freaking fantastic. And even though this looks really pale in the bottle, once it goes on my face, it looks orange as anything. So even before we start this video, I'm going to tell you, this does not match my skin tone. If you're looking for a really pale foundation, it's not going to be the MAC one. I'm sorry, it's just not. There just isn't one for my skin tone yet, so even though I have this, I can't really use it without mixing it with something. Yeah, so for the sake of this video, you're just going to have to hold yourself back from saying this does not match your skin. I already know that. So things you need to know about MAC's foundation. First of all, it does not come with a pump. I had to buy the pump separately and I paid for that separately. It's like a £5 or something. Okay, so I'm going to take a single pump on the back of my hand. So yeah, this is the shade, and this is the lightest shade, and as you can see on my skin, it does look very orange for my skin tone. I am very pale, and this is not quite, you know, as pale as I would like my foundation. It does have that really, like, unscented makeup-y smell to it. Okay, so I'm going to start applying it now, and I'm going to be using the Real Techniques Expert Face Brush. And, oh, I lost a fibre there. So I'm first going to start out by just brushing it on, and then I'm going to move into sort of stippling motions. I'm losing a lot of fibres on this brush. Personally, I think this foundation, the first time I ever tried it, I tried putting it on with my fingers, since that was normally how I like to test foundations. And yeah, it didn't really want to spread very well. It didn't want to blend very much. So I would say this is a foundation that I am not very fond of using my fingers for. I feel like this is definitely a foundation that benefits from being applied with a brush. I have tried with the Real Techniques sponge and a branded beauty blender, but personally I didn't really think they applied that well. The spongy material just seems to sort of soak up some of the moisture from the foundation. It doesn't really want to apply, it wants to like stick to the sponge more than anything. Okay, so I think that's all applied. Now I am in natural lighting here, so I'm not quite sure how well it's going to be, like how visible it's going to be on camera. So this is the finish that the MAC foundation gives. I do think it's a very good full coverage foundation. I have a small blemish here which isn't really showing up that much on camera. I can see it a little bit in the mirror, but honestly the foundation's covered it mostly. I do have a freckle here, which tends to be the way that I test whether a foundation like covers blemishes well, is can it cover this freckle, and it mostly has done. I mean, you can still see it, but honestly it's not a big deal. So I haven't used an eye primer or a concealer, so I am getting a little bit of creasing underneath my eyelid. Looking at myself in the mirror, it really doesn't match my skin tone very well. I don't know how well it's going to show up on camera. I can see a clear line along my jaw. One thing I'll say about this foundation is it does oxidize. I have noticed that over the course of the day I've come home looking a lot darker than when I went out, which, considering the foundation is already too dark and too orange, it really doesn't help me out very much. I do actually like the finish that it gives on the skin, as much as I can still see some of my pores, and it gives a slightly tacky feel, so and it does come off on the hands a little bit. So I always want to set this with a powder, but then this foundation can be a little bit drying, at least on me, so I'm always tempted to not set it with a powder, even though I know I should, but then it's going to dry it out a little bit more. So personally, I use quite a bit of moisturiser underneath this, especially like anywhere that I get dryness. So I do still use this foundation, I just tend to mix it with either the MAC Face and Body if I want it a bit more sheer, or with Manic Panic's Dream Tone foundation in white if I kind of want to try and keep the consistency as much as I can. I find it does still oxidize, and the colour still isn't right for me, like it's much too warm for me still, but I can kind of get away with it. One thing that did really put me off this foundation for quite a while after I first bought it was the fact that every time I wear this, if I wear it on its own, like now, it's bound to happen. Every time I've ever worn this foundation, just not mixed with anything, it has always happened. And even if I wear it mixed with something, it still tends to happen. This foundation breaks me out really, really bad. I can't say why. I can't figure out what would be in it that would make me break out. And it's not that, oh, maybe my hands weren't clean or maybe my brush wasn't clean. This was the first foundation I ever tried out when I got my brand new beauty blender. So it's not me transferring dirt or anything, it's genuinely just this foundation. There is no other foundation that makes me break out like this does. It's insane. The first time I used it, I had spots everywhere. It was kind of a nightmare, and it's weird that I haven't thrown it out yet because I do still like it and I do still use it, but you know, if you have a sensitive skin, which I do, it's really one to be wary of. Maybe test it on a day where if you're going to get spots the next day, you don't have to be anywhere special. I do think this foundation is long lasting, so yeah, personally just for those reasons I would not repurchase this foundation. If they did bring out a paler shade, I would purchase it just to try it, even with all the issues that I have. I do like how long lasting it is, and I do like the finish for the most part. It's not the best foundation I've ever used, and it's not my favourite foundation. Honestly, the main reason I got it was just because of all the how everyone raves about MAC, and I just wanted to try it. Personally, I don't get what the fuss is about. It's just a foundation to me. Maybe I'd like it more if it matched my skin tone, but unfortunately it doesn't, so it does tend to cake up on my skin after about a few hours, maybe about 2 or 3 hours. It tends to go a little bit patchy, at least on me. I'm not sure if that's anything I'm doing. Maybe my primer doesn't work very well with this foundation. I don't know, but that's just another one of the issues that I have with it. It's not that I hate this foundation or anything, like I have kept it and I do still use it. I do keep trying it and mixing it and hoping to get more use out of it since I paid for it, and I do want to try and like it more. It's just, I don't know, I suppose it's one that for me I have to really like, I have to try and work with it, and I prefer a foundation that just went on perfectly and matched me and was really nice, and yeah. So I'd say if you're not ridiculously pale, or you're a warm undertone, then there'll probably be a shade that matches you, and if you don't have sensitive skin as well, then I could probably recommend this foundation, but if you're very pale or you do have sensitive skin, this isn't one that personally I would recommend to you just because of how it reacts with me and how it matches my skin tone, so that's all I can say about that. I'm really hating that in this lighting, at least on my camera's screen, I genuinely can't see like the line, but when I look in the mirror it's like, dear god, that's orange, but on camera it's like... So yeah, that's it for my little mini MAC foundation review. If you like this, please check out the rest of my channel. I do have a few other foundation type reviews and makeup reviews on there. Stick around if you want to hear more. The next ones I'll be doing are probably the Illamasqua foundations, including powders and such. Remember to leave me a like or a comment if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to see more like this, and that's it. I'll see you next time. Bye!